Gone. Okay, so we're starting this. So this discussion is about the what's it called, strange act of selling the Hametz. One of the glaring problems of legal fiction that we have. When it comes to the point of selling open packages and other. How does it work? So let's start from the source, and we'll review some of the rabbinical sources. So the first source is from Talmud Bavli Masechet Shabbat, and so it's interesting. It actually appears in Masechet Shabbat and not in Pesahim, like the original discussion. So we have this text: Bet Shammai Omrim En Mochrin. That is part of the discussion in the first chapter that speaks about the permissibility of selling an object to a non-Jew before Shabbat. Now you're selling an object; he's going to travel with it, and he's still going to be on the road with the object that he bought from you. So what was the problem with that? Still, for Bet Shammai, this was not recommended. Remember that we spoke last time that Bet Shammai represent the ancient Halakha, and Bet Hillel are the innovators. If we think about that way, it makes sense because the rabbis were working on creating a certain character of Shabbat that didn't exist up until the time of this Mishnah. When this is a different discussion. When the rabbis established the laws of lighting candles for Shabbat and all that, you would come home Friday night. From work, you go to sleep. You get up in the morning and you eat. But nothing really happened on Friday night. The rabbis established the halakha of lighting the candles, having a meal, make sure that you sit together, and they really you could say, saved the Shabbat. The other problem that they had with Shabbat is commerce. People used to conduct business on Shabbat, buying and selling, and not so much with money, but bartering was very common. And that is, again, another discussion. The whole issue of Eruv, when we think of the Eruv, most of the discussions in the Talmud, when they speak about the public property, they use the Latin both Latin words stratia or flatia, which means strata and plaza. So it's about bringing stuff from the highway to the city, to the square, to the town square, and selling it. So Bet Shammai were also very concerned with the idea of that if I sell my merchandise to a non-Jew and he's carrying it in the city streets after Shabbat started, it doesn't look good. So not that it's really forbidden, it's something that doesn't look good. So Bet Shammai said you cannot sell. Bet Shammai אומרים לא ימכור אדם חפצו לנוכרי ולא ישאילנו ולא ילבנו ולא ייתנו במתנה אלא כדי שיגיע לביתו. You cannot sell an object, or even of course to lend it would make sense, to let him borrow it or to give him as a gift. All these things cannot be done unless you can make it home before Shabbat, because people don't know if you sold it, if he's just using your materials.
So it's not against the selling; it's just the timing.
It's the timing. Yeah, you could sell it. Give him enough time to make it home before Shabbat.
That's more cyan. Is that what it is?
What?
More cyan? Is it just it looks bad?
Yeah, it doesn't look good, right? Or it's sort of a fence against people conducting commerce on Shabbat. Because how would I know? So you have to give enough space. This is the margin of protection.
It's only selling to a non-Jew.
Yes, we're talking about selling to a non-Jew, but remember, this is about Shabbat. You're selling an object that you could have kept in your possession. It's a book, whatever, probably wine or wheat or something like that. And you have to make sure that he can make it home before Shabbat. ובית הלל אומרים, כדי שיגיע לבית הסמוך לחומה, בית הלל say, he has to make it to the house near the wall. He doesn't have to really leave the city. As long as he's sort of in the outskirts of the city, it's fine.
Out of sight, out of mind.
Rabbi Akiva אומר, כדי שיצא מפתח ביתו. Rabbi Akiva says, as long as he has time to leave your house, the Jewish house, it's fine. It's not on your property, on your premises anymore.
Right.
So according to that, you can sell him a minute before Shabbat. He gets out, you're good. And then Rabbi Yosef bar Yehuda comments on that. Hen divrei Rabbi Akiva, hen divrei Bet Hillel, lo ba Rabbi Akiva, ela lefaresh divrei Bet Hillel. He says Rabbi Akiva is only a commentary on Bet Hillel. He says, don't think that the Bet Hillel really want you to go all the way, the non-Jew to go all the way to the outskirts of the city. just leaving the house is enough. So we have this dispute between Bet Shammai and Bet Hillel about the visibility of and how people interpret that. The next sugya in Masechet Shabbat is Tanu Rabbanan. The rabbis taught Bet Shammai Omrim. Bet Shammai say, Lo yimkor adam chametzo lanochri, אלא אם כן יודע בו שיכלה קודם הפסח, או שיכלה קודם הפסח, דברי בית שמאי. So now we take it to Hametz. So the same concept. On Shabbat, you want him to be out of the premises before Shabbat. Now you want the Hametz to be finished before Pesach. And they're not talking about legal fiction.
They're talking about selling.
Selling. I have
You
something.
have no expectation of it getting it back.
Never. No. I just want to sell my stuff and say that he has to finish before Pesach. That's really sort of an extreme view of ownership of Hametz. As if your ownership of Hametz still extends after the sale. ובית הלל אומרים, כל זמן שמותר לאוכלו, מותר למוכרו. בית הלל say, as long as you're allowed to eat it, you're also allowed to sell it, which makes sense. That your ownership ends when you sell it. רבי יהודה אומר, כותח הבבלי וכל מיני כותח, אסור למכור 30 יום קודם בפסח. רבי יהודה is more strict in that sense. He agrees with that in general, but he says there are certain types of dishes that have hametz that stay in them for a long while. Kutah habavli was a Babylonian dish that apparently was some kind of a dairy food that the culture came from mold, from malted bread with mold. So they would put bread in it, and they would what they call break the milk and make it dairy. So it would stay there for a long time. So he says that has a shelf life of 30 days. You have to finish. You have to sell even that before Pesach. But that's not the sale that we are talking about. It seems like it didn't even occur to them. So then we go the next
That's
source.
not trying to explain.
No, he's not.
That's just
It's not. It's not clear if he's between the two or his own opinion. Now we go to Tosefta. The Tosefta in Psahim, פרק א' הלכה ז', says this, בראשונה היו אומרים, אין מוכרין חמץ לנוכרי, ואין נותנים לו במתנה, אלא כדי שיאכלנו עד שלא תגיע שעת הביעור. Originally they said, you're not allowed to sell or give a gift to the nochri, unless he's able to eat it before the time of the prohibition of hametz arrives. Now, until Rabbi Akiva came and taught that you could do it even at a minute before the end time. Let's say on the calendars this year it will appear that it's 11:16 a.m. Let's say, so at 11:15 you could still sell it. אמר רבי יוסי, אלו דברי בית שמאי ואלו דברי בית הלל, הכריע רבי עקיבא לסיעת דברי בית הלל. This is something that reflects what we saw on the Mishnah on Shabbat. Rabbi Yosef says, the first opinion that you cannot sell is that of Bet Shammai. The second opinion that you can sell is the Bet Hillel. And Rabbi Akiva ruled like Bet Hillel. Now, if we ask the question, how does it make sense of selling and giving him as a gift? Maybe they were afraid of that trick of you're going to give it to him as a gift, but then you're going to pick it up after Pesach. But not necessarily. It seems more that it is a similar argument to that of Shabbat. It's just about how does it look when your ownership sort of extends.
Because otherwise it wouldn't be a timing question.
Right.
I mean,
You could sell it a minute before, a month before, make no difference. Right. So then we go to what is called Ma'aseh. An actual act is always good as a proof. And that is in Masechet Psahim 13:1. מעשה באדם אחד שהפקיד דיסקייה מלאה חמץ אצל יוחנן חכו קאה. A man deposited a bag full of hametz with, not Rabbi, it's a man by the name of Yohanan of Hukok, which is a village outside Yerushalayim. ונקבו העכברים, והיה חמץ מבצבץ ויוצא. So it was punctured by mice, and you could see the hametz, you could actually see the hametz. It's interesting that the Talmud makes this why would I care if you see it or not? Could be, there are two ways to understand it. Either the man knew that there was hametz in the bag, but as long as he didn't see it, he didn't care. Or
is it over Pesach?
That's before Pesach. Now it's before Pesach. So, or that he didn't know what's in the bag, and now that it was punctured, he understood what it said. But it doesn't make sense because when you deposit something with someone, there are very comprehensive rules on the Mishnah about shomrim, the responsibility. You have to tell him what's in the bag. It's very much like insurance claim. You know, if it's a cat in the bag, cat in the sack. What do you say it here? In Hebrew, you say hatul basak. You know, when you don't know what's in it, you say there's a cat in the bag. So you can insure something. It's okay. I'm giving you a box, right? What's in it? So probably he did know, but he was bothered by the fact that he can now see it. So he came to Rabbi Yehuda Nasi. Sha'ar Rishona, that's Erev Pesach. So the first hour of the day says, wait, maybe the guy will come and pick it up. Shniya Amar Lo Amaten, Shlishit Amar Lo Amaten, Revit Amar Lo Amaten. The man was really terrified.
Concerned.
Every hour rushes to Rabbi. Probably Rabbi Yehuda Nasi had enough things to do, but it comes to him every hour. Finally, Bashah Hamishit, which is an hour before midday, before noon, he said, go sell it. And the Talmud has a debate. Was it to a Jew or a non-Jew? Which is...
We don't know what day this is.
No, it's Erev Pesach. It's for sure. That's. Oh, it doesn't say here, but we know it was the day before Pesach. So he kept him till the last minute, and then he says, sell it to a non-Jew to just get it out of your property, and then keep the money and give it to the person who deposited with you.
So,
But still, it's a full sale.
I know, but so,
go ahead.
but from what you said, there was a question of whether he didn't know what was in the bag and
Yeah.
now he knows, or whether he knew and
Yeah.
he didn't care because it didn't show in the
Yeah.
He still has the problem. I mean, whether or not, if he doesn't know what's in that
Yeah.
bag, he's got to get rid of it before Pesach, one way or the other.
Right. I just said as a side comment. It's
No, but here, so
Why?
this, because it could be Hametz, and he's not allowed to have Hametz in his house.
But it's
if it's a
It's not
sealed
his
bag and you
fault.
don't know what's in it,
right.
that's why I'm commenting that it could be that back in the day, or maybe that man at least, interpreted the biblical law differently. He read it literally. If you see it, it's a problem. If you don't see it, it's not a problem.
Could you go over the biblical law? What's it
Okay,
talking
so
about?
the biblical law is sort of the core of the problem here. I have a theory that wherever you find legal fiction in rabbinical literature, it means that the problem that it circumvents is not biblical, because there would never create a legal fiction to contradict biblical law. So people challenge me on that concept with post-bul, which is the legal fiction to bypass the laws of Shemitah. But we have to go deeper. I mean, I'll explain this and then go back to Hametz. So what happens with Shemitah? The Torah says that on the 7th year, you have to denounce all the debts and you cannot collect debts after Shvi'it. So at the time of Hillel, people avoided borrowers because they were afraid they were never going to get the money back. And then they invented this kind of prosbul, which is, when it boils down to the idea that the Beit Din gives you ownership over a piece of land, tiny, where you could stick a needle in it and put, your flag on it. And now, since you're a landowner, a landlord, you're not a poor person, and you don't fall into the category of those people whose debts are waived during the 7th year. So people say, oh, this is clearly against the Torah. And I say, no, it's not against the Torah, because the Torah explains gives us the reason of the law. This is where people are so afraid of ta'amei mitzvot, of trying to understand the purpose of the mitzvah. The Torah didn't say that it's some kind of a mystical ritual that on the 7th year all debts disappear. The Torah clearly shows that the Torah does not want a state of poverty and a situation where landlords keep accumulating more land because they lease it as later on with sharecroppers. The feudal system in medieval times is exactly what happens around the world. So the Torah says, okay, every 7 years we're going to reset the system. It's going to go back. Debts are waived. You can rebuy your fields except for a house, etc. Right? So the Torah's intention was to maintain a healthy economic system. Hillel says what happens now is Tina'el delet bifnei lovin. People don't want to lend money. If lenders don't lend money, borrowers don't have purchase power, the whole system is going to fall apart. So we have to fix the system. The rabbis have the authority to do it, and they were invested with this authority by the Torah. So in that sense, this legal fiction is already authorized by the Torah, because the intention of the Torah was to keep. It might sound a little, but so take it now to Hametz. Well, the Torah says, "Lo yireh lecha seor v'lo yireh lecha hametz b'chol gevolecha." You should not see. There should not be visible hametz or leavening agent in all your properties on Pesach, because he who eats hametz will die at a young age. So here you have again the prohibition and the explanation, which one could argue that technically ownership of hametz is not a prohibition, rather it's a cautionary measure against eating the hametz. And in that case, it doesn't matter who owns the hametz. And that could have been the interpretation of the ancient halakha, even though we believe that the tradition is not so. We believe that the oral tradition is that it's the ownership of hametz. So you could have tons of hametz in your house. If it's not yours, you have no problem, and vice versa. But it could be that originally some people interpreted differently. Now, if it's really the case, then though the Torah says you should not have hametz on your property, if you cover it with with something, you're fine. Or if you do bitul, you're fine, and that would be something that people would argue later on. So even though we're dealing with legal fiction, maybe it's not breaking such a serious prohibition as we think it does. So up until now, the sources that we saw speak about totally legal sale, and in that case of the person who had a deposit, he will sell it and will never see it again, and he will give the money to the owner of the original bag. Now, in the Tosefta Psahim 2:12, we read this: Israel v'goy shehu b'hem bisfina v'hametz be'ad Israel. A Jew and a non-Jew who were on a ship. So now we're talking. Wait, it's okay. V'hametz be'ad Israel. So, and the Jew owns hametz. Harei ze mochro lanochri. He could sell it to the non-Jew. Venotno means onotno b'matana, or give it as a gift. V'chozer v'lokech mimenu lahar Pesach, and he repurchases it after Pesach, or takes it again, the gift. Uvilvat sheitno lo matana gemura, but it has to be a total gift, no reservations, and he will get it back from after Pesach. What do you mean?
If it's a gift.
If it's a gift, right? No, I know he's going to give it back to me. He's a nice guy. Right now, it's yours. You can do whatever you want with it. Just don't eat it, right?
Or drink it.
Or drink it, right? It's really strange. But also, what is important about this Mishnah, this Tosefta, is that we are talking about an emergency. The
Shape, the context.
the ship, right? The context of the ship means that you are stuck. We're not talking about a cruise, or that you could get off, or there's no communication. Usually those trips, we're talking about the Mediterranean, they go to Rome and back. Those are common stories with the rabbis, Rabban Gamliel and the others who are on a ship going to Rome to talk to the government. So what are you going to do? You're not going to make it home on time. You can't get rid of it. They don't suggest that you just throw it overboard. You're going to be a week on the ship. You'll need it in a week from now. So keep it. Just give it to the goy and he'll give it back to you. And in Halakha 13, in the same chapter of the Tosefta, also continues the idea with this. Rasha Yisrael sheyomar lanochri, ad she'ata lokech b'maneh, kach b'matayim. We talk about a Jewish seller, merchant, and a non-Jewish buyer, and the seller says, you're taking merchandise that is worth 100 shekel or zuz. Take for 200. Take more. Buy more. Maybe I'll have to buy it after Pesach. Maybe I'll have to buy it after. Meaning it says, keep it from me. I'll buy it. If the buyer says, I don't need so much, don't worry, I'll buy it from you after Pesach. You're allowed to do that. So, and that is also sort of an emergency. The The seller has quantities that he cannot get rid of before Pesach. So he says, do me a favor and rid me of this hametz. So this is what we find in the Mishnaic and Talmudic literature. Here we'll talk about the full sale that they're not happy with, and then slowly transitions into the situations of if there's an emergency, you could sell it, but sell it completely and then repurchase after Pesach.
So the concept of selling it, actually selling it.
Yes.
Is that where the tradition comes that when you sell it to the rabbi, you actually give it, you make
A handshake?
a handshake and you give him a check?
Oh, so the check, I don't know where it came from.
I always grew up that when you sell your Hametz,
Yeah.
you handshake and you give them a check because there's really a sale involved.
But if
Yes.
you're selling, why would you?
But
Why
if
would
you're
you
the
give a check
seller,
if you're the
you should get
seller?
money.
Yeah, but
You should get the check.
Well,
Because you are buying it
I'm going to
back.
buy it back.
So you are paying in
You
advance.
can't pay
whatever.
ahead of time if you're gonna buy it back only after.
Why not?
Pesach.
The transaction doesn't make sense. It's so I think it started as ma'ot hitin,
Yeah.
that you will give charity for the
Okay.
poor, but somewhere along the way, the rabbis or the congregations figured out that it's a good way to make money. People the fundraiser.
The rabbi started it.
People pay for it. So but we are going now, 2,000 years.
So you're making a point about saying to a non-Jew.
Yeah.
What if there is a Jewish person who is not observant,
Right.
and there's no other? Can you theoretically sell it to a
You're technically not allowed to sell it to him, but if you sold it to him and you bought it after Pesach, there will be a halachic question: what can you do with that? It's not so simple. We'll
That's why
get.
you can't buy a giant.
No. So sorry.
Yeah.
Wait, that's not why you cannot buy in giant. That's why they say you cannot buy in giant. I just want to be okay. Whoever says that the owner is Jewish, we don't know if he sold it. Okay, we'll talk about that.
You can't buy
We'll get there.
shalom either.
So now we go to a 14th century source. It's not usually quoted in halachic circles, but is interesting. His name was Rabbi Cohen ben Moshe, traveler, geographer, and he wrote a journal of his travels called Kaftor V'Ferah, after the decoration of the menorah, which was like a button and a flower. And so the pen name that he took, which was very uncommon at the time, is Ashtori HaParhe. There's a street named after him near Shtisel in Yerushalayim, the restaurant Shtisel. And he writes this, that it really exists. In chapter 4, page 28, he says, "Vezot arama she'anu chosheshim u'milta deshachia." And that kind of legal fiction, ha'arama, which means to trick, sort of to cheat the system, that we are concerned about, is a famous thing. It's very common. What is that? Klomar sheyakne adam tvoato legoy, for a person to make his wheat the possession of a non-Jew. She'arei kama bnei adam osim kayotze baze b'shvil harvacha. Many people do so in order to feel more comfortable. Shekshehu karov lePesach haroeh goy ne'eman etzlo. Near the Pesach, he finds someone whom he trusts. Umafkid be'ado muriya saba min hadagan. And he deposited with the non-Jew a certain wheat derivative which cannot be in your possession in Pesach. They pretend to sell it to him. Meaning they sell it, but we know it's not real. And you trust him that he will give it back to you after Pesach. So now, about 1,000 years after the Mishnah, this starts surfacing like people know of what is written in the Mishnah, even though there is an emergency. They say, I have an emergency. What am I going to do with the wheat or whatever I have? And by the way, this is the same thing happens with bitul. The idea of bitul hametz originally started as an emergency. You're on your way to the temple to do Korban Pesach, and they say, oh, I forgot the dough sitting on what would have been there, the counter, right? By the clay oven on the ground. It's going to become hametz in 3 hours. I can't make it back. Or I can make it back and get rid of it and come back, right, to do the Pesach. So what do you do? Bitul. It's not hametz. So now we're not talking about crumbs around the house. A real, chunk of hametz dough sitting there. It's not hametz. It's not mine. So it started as an emergency. So at the same time, more or less around the same time, we have the tool written by Rabbeinu Yaakov ben
But
Rabbeinu
this is
Asher.
not very far from
What we do today.
the sellers.
Well, right.
It's continuation of
Yeah. So it's this is sort of, you could say, an organic
evolution.
development, right? People know that, they do it, and what do the rabbis say? So Shlomo Parham says everybody does that. Where are the rabbis? So look what the tool says. This is mind blowing. This should be part of the series that I'm writing. Like, I can't believe it's written, right? Why he says uminadin alenu lehmir mimma shenoagim achshav. We should be more strict about the common minhag. What is the common minhag? She'Yisrael mekabel doron hametz shel akum min hamincha ulmala. The Jews receive gifts of hametz from non-Jews during Pesach, after midday on Erev Pesach. Happened to us once. Like, we had a guest coming for a seder with a cake, and right. So what do you do with that? Shena'asa hametz shel Yisrael she'avar alav Pesach. If you take it, it's yours. You can't use it. Ulefichach haya alenu ligdor gader. We should have created a fence for that. So have in mind, this is Rabbeinu Yaakov ben Asher was born in the 13th century in Germany, and then moved to Spain with his father, fleeing Germany. And then he says that it's very common that non-Jews bring Jews hametz on Pesach. So what do they do with it? They keep it to use it after Pesach, and not at the end, not at the last day, as like in Jews in Morocco would do it during the Mimuna, and on Erev Pesach, and they keep it. Adoni Avizal Omer takana leze. My father, the Rabbeinu Asher, the famous Rosh, says, "Oh, it's okay. We could remedy that. How?" Sheomar Yisrael eni rotze sheikne li reshuti. So according to Halakha, when a non-Jew or a Jew gives you something, it has to be either you pick it up, or he puts it on your property, and then it becomes yours. And if you say, "I don't want my property to perform the acquisition for me," so it's here, but it's not mine. And then it's not yours. So your non-Jewish neighbor brings you a gift. He gives it to you, and you say, "Put it over there," and the Pesach, it still belongs to the non-Jew, right? And even if he didn't say anything, it's still not his. That is, I don't know what to say. No, had allowance, like to say that. Can you imagine in an Orthodox home today?
What you did when you guest brought.
Yeah, when they brought the cake, I took it like in mine. It's not mine, and I didn't keep it. I gave it to the portero, to the doorman. And the funniest thing is that afterwards, she said, she was a Russian Jew living in. She said, "I knew it's forbidden, but I thought only once. What's going to happen?" She almost killed my wife. What's going to happen? So, and then he said, "V'hametz shenimtza bevet Yisrael achar haPesach, oser b'Yerushalmi af al pi shebitlo, v'hashin Hashem hayarim." And if there's hametz found in your house after Pesach, even though you made bitul, even though you said, "I don't own this hametz," it's asur. Why? V'hashin Hashem hayarim lomar shebitlo af al pi shelo bitlo. We're concerned maybe that person would deceive us, saying, "I did bitul and I didn't do bitul." Is that difficult to do bitul? It's not that difficult, but still, but it seems from that, if you have hametz, not the crumbs, not anything, your scotch or any significant, valuable hametz that you say, "I don't want it, it's not mine," it works, right? Uval aitul.
But you can't see it either. Right?
No, you can see it.
So the rabbis interpreted the word "see" as own, because they say "lo yira'eh lecha," it will not be seen to you, so it's ownership. Uval aitul, the author of the book Aitul lived in Marseille in the 12th century. Asaro ba'achila v'hitiro ba'ana. He says you can't eat it, but you could derive benefit from it. So now back to giant.
Hametz that was held over
Hametz
Pesach.
that was held in my house over Pesach.
But that you never acquired.
It wasn't yours, yeah.
But you say I never.
I don't need it.
How could you drive?
Not everybody agrees with him, but there.
No, but even if you did agree, if you were to agree with him, how can you benefit from something that's no longer yours?
No, the thing is, it is on your property or in your
No, I
possession.
understand it's in your possession, but it's not yours to sell or
It was
gift.
given
or
Right.
to you, but you only accepted it.
No, we're not talking about this now. That's a different issue. Sorry, we're talking about now. Pesach is over, and you open a cabinet, you open a drawer, and you find a piece of cake, a nice chocolate bar, Twix. Okay. Oh, I didn't. As you know, was here. I didn't do mechirat hametz. And can I use it? There I said, no, we don't know that you did bitul. No, I did bitul. No, we don't trust you. Throw it away, right? Baal Haitul says, even if you did bitul hametz, right? Or if we don't know if you did bitul or not, you can't eat it, but you could still sell it. So according to that, now when we're talking about supermarkets that may be owned by Jews and all that, we don't have to go crazy. There is an opinion that you could rely on, that they because people really go crazy in trying to find out who exactly is the owner. Even if the owner doesn't even know that, he doesn't know that he's Jewish, but you'll find out that he is. And then they will say you can buy pasta within a month based on shelf life and expiration dates and all that. No need to go crazy. We assume that he did bitul, and if he did bitul, there are some people who say it's mutar b'anai. And even so, the prohibition is not on you to buy, but on him to sell. So there should really be no problem after Pesach to buy anything anywhere. This is
Wait, but it says you can't eat it. You can benefit from it.
So he can sell it.
He can sell it to you, but you can't eat it.
But if you know that it was in his possession, right?
But
Right.
Well, that's why they have this
Well,
whole
like,
thing
yeah.
about different things at different.
Like if you have friends that keep kosher and you're comfortable with their kosher, after Pesach, the week after Pesach, you go to their house to eat. What if they didn't do bitul? They didn't sell their chametz. They didn't do bitul. They don't tell you. I mean, is that a problem in eating it?
That's not a problem. If you trust them, you trust them. You assume that they
Plus,
know.
don't we say it's for all the Jews in this community or something?
Yeah, no, we do with the eruv tafshilin.
Oh, that's just
No, but
why don't we add it?
the problem starts with your assumption that there are friends that you trust.
Right.
But today it became so such a sensitive issue. So to say you're right, obviously it says asur b'achila, but that is when you know that it was found in his possession, that he didn't do bitul, that he didn't do mechira. If he did bitul, it's okay. So I could always rely on this.
Well, he says whether he did bitul or not. If you're going to depend on
Right,
it,
he says even
can sell
if
it.
you don't, right.
So he's doing it in the sense that even if you don't know if he did bitul, but
Right.
he's also saying that if you do know he did bitul, you still can't
No,
eat it. You can
if we
benefit
know,
from it.
if we know that we did
then it's
bitul,
okay.
it's okay.
If
According to
you do, you
that,
can eat it. If
Yeah.
you don't know, you can sell it.
bitul is enough. But the argument
Okay.
is okay. So now to give it, the credit,
Asur b'Yerushalmi, af al pi
shebitlo, shema lo bitlo. Maybe
Kashir
right,
shema.
right.
So-
Because you're afraid that he didn't, that he's lying.
Yeah.
But to give
So you don't
credit,
eat it. You
okay, we're not going. Okay,
Yeah,
that's not where I want to bash the
With
kosher
those-
organization. They're doing a great job. Where I want to bash them is for telling you that you need kosher on water and stuff like that, or that to kosher your oven you have to put it on self clean mode, which is also self destructive. It's like for Mission Impossible. Every year. Ask the repairman; they will tell you
Yeah,
you have
it's
a lot
great
of work.
business.
Yeah, don't do that. Put it 350 for 20 minutes. You're good, especially after easy off. So now.
That's good.
But to give them credit, I would say that let's say that the owner of that store who's Jewish, publicly did bitul hametz, or maybe even did mechirat hametz. Why it doesn't work is because he keeps selling the hametz on Pesach. That means that declaration means nothing. So there is logic there. Okay, I'm gonna skip number 7. Maybe I'll get back to it later because I want to be able to show what happened that now everybody does mechirat hametz. So we have this commentary from Rabbi Serkis, who wrote the Beit Hadash, which means new house, and that's the commentary on the tool, or Haim. So he lived in Poland, 16th, 7th century, and he says this.
What's interesting? I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
So if you look at the dates
Yeah.
of these 3 sources that you bring,
Yeah.
they're going backwards in time.
Yeah.
And yet they're they're not consistent with each
Right,
other.
right. I know that's.
Right.
I didn't put them exactly chronologically.
No, you put it
They're more or
backwards
less,
chronologically.
yes, right.
One is 12th century, and 13th, 14th, and 14th.
No, so the 19th century. Oh yeah.
No, I'm just looking at
Oh, the previous
yours,
ones.
like,
Yes.
no.
Yeah. No, so the Tur and the Rabbi Yeshua Apari are more or less the same time. The Tur, the Shulchan Aruch is after the Tur, and the Ba is a little after the Shulchan Aruch. So still in time, but then we're going to go back after the source number 9. So number 8 is the Ba. He says this: "Uvimdina zo shirov masah umatan hu b'yen saraf ve'i efshar le'muchram lego im yichutz labayit." Oh no. So I want to go to the Shulchan Aruch. Sorry, back to 7, 1 because there's one point that's important. He says, Hametz Yisrael shavar alav pesach asur ba'anah. If Hametz, who belongs to a Jew, is forbidden to use or to derive benefit from after Pesach, even if you forget it by mistake or there was an emergency. But if he sold it to a non-Jew outside the house, kodem Pesach, before Pesach, you're allowed to use it. And then he goes, even though you know that he's going to get back to you, but
This is Sheno Yudi?
yes.
Or this is
Right, so the Sheno. So it seems that the Eno Yehudi, when you said that the non-Jew should be outside the house, it means that the Hametz also, obviously the Hametz.
So they have to take the Hametz.
They have to take the Hametz out. Even though the non-Jew owns it, it has to be off the premises. So now we go to the Ba. Ba comments on that. Says here, Poland, most business is with alcohol. That was the the for some reason the local princes trusted the Jews to become their they would give them the lease. They call it orenda. Orenda is like arrienda, the rent, the lease. So they would lease them their breweries, making either vodka or beer. Maybe because the Jews were not such big drinkers as the farmers. So does he have someone reliable that will
manage everything?
Yes. So now, how are you going to take this off your property? There's no way that you can do it. There's a way to make it allowed. You sell all the hametz in the room and the room itself.
Wow.
Okay? So you sell the room. But what is the problem? It says, but the problem is, according to Jewish law, there are different ways to purchase, to acquire different things, and to buy real estate for a Jew the way is either with money, or with a document, or with hazakah, meaning an act that you perform that shows ownership, like changing the locks in a house. It makes it yours. After, of course, there was an agreement. But it's difficult. It says, writing a document is complicated. Why is he saying that? Because people will say, okay, if you rule that I have to sell the hametz with the room, where is the document for that? Oh, it's complicated writing a document. Also, gam ulai ya'ale al da'at hagoy lehazik b'cheder shelo lahaziro. I corrected it. It said b'hametz. It didn't make sense. I probably was hit with a apostrophe. So the goy might say, okay, you know what? I got the room for a good price. I'm going to keep it. I have a room in your house. I'm going to come visit whenever I want, right? And he has a document for that. So it's better not to do that. Just do it orally, and tell the goy, with the hametz, I'm also giving you the room. But understandable, it's just there's no way you can come and claim it from me. But make sure that you say it before you sell it to him. Otherwise, it's nonsense, no value. Even if at the end it has no value, right? That's what we think. But you have to give him the key. So you sell him the. So when the poskim, like the Bet Yosef, the Shulchan Aruch, and the Ba get into that, they are talking about a phenomenon that has evolved over the years, and everybody does that, and they say we have to help people. We can't tell them it's forbidden. So the way to do it is sell the hametz, sell the property. Don't write a document because you can't take it out of the house. But don't write a document. Just say orally that that's what you do, but give him the key. Okay. Now, Rabbi Betzalel HaKohen of Vilna, the beginning of the 19th century, says this. וצריך להכניס כל חמץ שיש לו לחדר, דווקא קודם שנותן לו אנוכי כסף. You have to put all the hametz in the room before you effectuate the sale. וקודם מסירת השטר, and
שנותן לנוכרי כסף?
the נוכרי has to pay you.
The נוכרי has to give in.
Yeah.
שנותן לו אנוכרי.
Yes. Yes. I mean, and the way the sale is conducted today to make sure it's not fiction is that the buyer gives money. Even though in many congregations, the buyer, I mean, I've said in different Batei Din where we would sell the Hametz, somewhere the rabbis were more strict. Every year they would explain to the same buyer again the whole thing, but some places you call the one of the maintenance staff of the synagogue, and he said, "Would you like to buy the Hametz of the whole congregation for we evaluated in $30,000, but we'll give it to you with a down payment of $20."
Today only.
Right. But you have to come up with the rest of the money after Pesach. And if not, we'll buy it back from you for a little more than $20. Okay. And he would say, "Well, I don't have $20. So yeah, I'll give you $20. It's yours to give. And now you can buy it. And then after Pesach, you give him a little more and everybody's happy. Right.
So that's what you do with the down payment.
So it has to be that way. It has to be down payment.
But it's all verbal.
What?
It's all verbal.
It's all verbal, but yeah. I mean, it's funny, between the community and the rabbi, it's written agreement. Between you and the non-Jew, it's a verbal oral agreement. So you have to put everything in the room before you get money. וקודם מסירת השטר, יראינו הכל. Before you give the document, you have to show him everything. ויפרש לו כל מה שיש לו שם. And tell him, I have this, I have that. This is a Glenfiddich? Or Fiddich? How do you pronounce it?
Fiddich.
Probably Fiddich originally. Anyway, you say this is
native Scottish speakers.
okay. So yeah, you have to say this is what I have. This is how much I have of it. This is how much it's worth, which of course is what we all do, right? Every year. He says also, God forbid, you cannot lock the door with a key and keep it in your hands. And this afilu b'di'avad asur. Even post facto, if you did mechirat hametz and you didn't give the key to the non-Jew, it's invalid. So obviously, all of us, if you have a key or a code or alarm, no, not valid. So what do we rely on to stop here? Is we rely on the fact that the scenario that if the non-Jew who now has a stack of papers, go through them and I say, I like the property on Little Creek, and I want that. He has to contact the rabbi because he's buying so much, he doesn't know exactly where to go. And there was, okay, I'll make sure I'll contact the person, grant you access. This really has to happen. But if that is the case, that enough that I have the email or phone number of people who sell the hametz, he says that yimserenu lenochri or itlenu besikta. Either you give the key to the non-Jew or you put it on a nail by the door. You can come and take it whenever you want. Vegam yimkor lanochri hakelim shebayam hametz. And you also should sell the vessels in which the hametz is found. And the main thing is the lo levet kichucha v'itula ki mechira gemura. It should not be a joke. It should be a real mechira. Now, why did I put those words in bold print? Because I think that's the source of the entry in the Torah of Hametz that really doesn't make sense. And even in ours, you have it. It says that I empower and permit the rabbi to act on my behalf to sell all Hametz possessed by me. Also, Hametz that tends to harden and adhere to a surface of inside of pans, pots, or cooking and usable utensils. Okay? So the inclusion of this phrase in the contract could render it invalid, technically, because this makes it, in a way, a joke. I could buy that. I could buy, scotch. I could buy the cookie. The non-Jew is buying from me the hametz that has adhered to the pot was going to come into my house on Pesach and says, "Where is that Dutch oven that you have? Bring it up, bring it up." Okay, let me scrap this, little wheat that got stuck in the corner. I waited so long for this. What are we talking about, right? So this is where it comes from. I think that's my opinion. What is the original intention here? In the Hebrew, it's more clear. We are talking about hametz that is sitting in bags that are reusable. Where are we today? I think that's confusion. That confusion comes from we're thinking of vessels. Either you get the bag with the contents. They're talking about barrels that you refill. You fill from the barrels bottles or jugs, or bags, big sacks that you fill. Like when at least when I was a kid, that's how pasta and spices were sold in Yerushalayim. You come and they put it in, and the bag is always there. So that is called in the halachic language. It's called kelav shel mocher birshut lokeh. I'm selling you the content of the bag, but the container is still mine. And if you did not pick it up and took it with you, you didn't purchase. The acquisition is not effectuated. So in order for that to happen, I have to sell you the vessels. That was the intention of selling the vessels. That has morphed into the concern of, why do I have to sell the vessels? People think because there is hametz, which is absorbed in the vessels. It's a completely different issue. Here we're talking about the laws of acquisition. You can't buy it unless it's in your property, so I have to give you the vessel. Then they think about the flavor absorbed. So they used to include in the document, I'm selling you all the hametz that is in my possession, and also all the utensils in my house, all the hametz utensils that I'm not using. And then someone, I think the Hazon Ish was the first one to come up with that, said, wait, we have a problem. If you sell all your utensils to a non-Jew and then you repurchase them after Pesach, this means that you bought vessels from a non-Jew, right, and you have to do tevilah, you have to toivel them, right, after Pesach. Well, how are we going to fix that? You only sell the hametz which is absorbed in the utensils. And then in this contract, in order to not make it so ridiculous, is only not just the flavor, but if there's a real hametz that is stuck, which still doesn't make sense. Because for that to be sold, it has to be a sizable and edible piece of hametz. And all that is a result of misunderstanding of those three words, hakelim shebehem hametz. He refers to it as containers, and they thought of it as something that absorbs flavor. And we'll conclude with this, with Rabbi Alexander Sender Shore from the 18th century. And we're going a little back in time. And because he's the one who really gives the sort of the solution of how does this thing work at all. He says, some of the scholars in this place have come up with an innovative idea. People said, okay, if I could sell hametz during the year, like on Pesach, they had a big problem feeding their cows and chicken and all that. So let me sell my cows to the non-Jew with their feed, with the wheat, and after Pesach I'll buy them again. And the animals, those animals eat hametz regularly all Pesach, and then they repurchase it after Pesach. He says, I've never, this was something that was introduced in his time. He says, I've never seen that before. He lived in Zhevkova in Poland. We know that he was in Poland. Zhevkova is where he passed away, and his father-in-law was also the rabbi of this city. So they mostly made like the bar says, they worked with making beer and alcohol. And they used the residue, the crushed grain, they used to feed the animals, some for milk, as dairy cows, and some for slaughtering. So like Kobe beef, can you eat it? Can you eat it on Pesach? Allegedly, the animals are fed, not fed. They give them beer to drink, and then they massage it so the animals, so the distribution of fat will be perfectly marbled. But it's okay. You could have
I was going to say lucky animals.
Lucky animals, yeah, poor animals. And he
But
says,
prior to that, it's a
yeah,
nice life. Beer and
Massages.
beer and massages, yeah. Ovadia Yemei HaPesach says, but in my city, even though they would sell all of their hametz, the breweries, etc., but they would never sell the animals. והיו הבהמות מתקלקלים מאוד, and those animals, by the way, suffered. They didn't have what to feed them, and it took them a couple of weeks after Pesach to recover. Meaning that he says the people were so strict in his town that they would never use that trick. So he says, how are those people doing that to sell the animals? And he is not in favor of that. But then because he started looking into that, he says, "Ve'amarti mi'ikara dedina pircha." The problem is really with mechirat hametz in itself. Halo much hamilta de'harama tuva. It is clearly fiction. Sorry for the typo. Why is it fiction? Why is it a sort of a joke? The buyer never buys this kind of merchandise. It was never done. Once a year, you call someone who has no interest in your hametz and you sell it to him.
Is the chametz in general? Is the cow?
Hametz. Now we talk about hametz. And the seller also doesn't sell that way, right? In our case, the Rabbi Antino, or I'm selling hametz, or any rabbi who does that, that's not my business, right? And another problem, and also the buyer usually is a poor person. Like I said, you do him a favor, if you do this for me, you earn $20, and you sell him hametz of thousands of people. So how does it work? He says, Ela nirali. The prohibition of owning hametz on your property is not biblical, is rabbinical. Really? Everybody understands it's biblical, right? He explains, the mideoraita bevitul be'al masagi v'chol echad mevatel hametzo belev shalem. Says, by biblical law, if you say, I don't want this hametz, it's enough. Which in itself is a problem. I said, like, if we go with the ancient halakha that could have understood hametz, that the problem is really visible hametz, that you might lead you to eat it, that's why bitul works, because really there's no problem with ownership. It's just if it led to an act of eating would be a problem. And the bitul is something that the early commentators really struggle with. How does it work? How do you declare that something is not what it is, right? So the answer is, and that's the classical answer that everybody uses, that of the Ramban. He says, because the hametz is really not yours, and the Torah made it yours for punitive measures. I mean, to be punished for it. Otherwise, it's not yours, because if God doesn't allow you to eat it, it's not yours. But God made it yours. So when you come and say, I don't want it, you align yourself with God's will or with the opinion of the Torah, and now it works. So it's more a statement of a declaration of intent. I don't want to have hametz. I agree with you, God. I don't want to have it. Good, it works. It says, "Velo nishar ki misur derabanan shetzich levaro min haolam," and all you need is to burn it or get rid of it. But that's a rabbinical prohibition. So by biblical law, if you just said bitul, I'm mevatel all the hametz in my property, is okay. And it says, "Vehem amru, vehem amru." The rabbi said, it's forbidden to keep it in your property, even though you did bitul. And the rabbi has also said, mechira works. Kmo shekatuv b'tosefta. Now he quotes the Tosefta about people on the ship and all that. And then he concludes, obviously you can't do it with the with the animals, because obviously it doesn't work, and so on. The selling of the animals. So to conclude, right? Let's sum up what we saw.
Why doesn't that work? Like they sell the animal?
It doesn't say. It doesn't say, because it says yadua shekavanato rak le'achil. It's obvious that you. So what?
Yeah.
So what?
How about the rest of it?
So and also when the question also for him on him is when he says hem amru v'emru, the rabbis say don't do it. I mean, don't own hametz, and then they said you could sell, as it's written in the Tosefta. It's written about a specific emergency, and then you have all these legislators who said you have to do it in a certain way. But what happens here is the question of the evolution of halakha, right? From the very early time where they said you can't even sell it to a goy if he's not going to he has to finish it before Pesach. The non-Jew, like it's still attached to you somehow. And we saw the comparison to the laws of Shabbat, and then we move on.
We don't hold that for Shabbat anymore.
No, we don't hold that way. Some people are. There are the application is if you want to drop your car off to be fixed just before Shabbat and pick it up immediately on Motzei Shabbat. Some say it might be a problem, or cleaners, etc. There was a time where people said don't drop things in the mail before Shabbat because of or order something online. It's a different. So now we saw that in the Tosefta spoke about a case of emergency. Then Rabbi Ashtor Parchi in the 13th, 14th century they started talking about everybody's selling and everybody's doing it and how is it possible? The God brings you. There was it was in a state of influx and it was not clear exactly what is the ownership and people interpreted it their way. The rabbis sort of work with the people. There's a certain degree of tolerance of what people need, and apparently it was done because the rabbis themselves also owned Hametz. And I'm not saying that they did it to benefit themselves, but rather that helped them empathize with the problem and understand that it is a serious issue. So eventually we got to the mechira as we have it today. So no matter how you do it, it works. If you go with the power of attorney like that, or you go to a website, I put a Google Doc out there, a Google form with my email, and people just fill in their email and name and authorize me to sell the Hametz. That's fine. It works. But really it's an interesting indicator of how Halakha changes,
Well, it's like incremental. It builds on each other.
It's incremental, but like Avi commented before, there are leapfrogs and sometimes you go back and
Not everybody holds according to the latest fees.
yes. But you know what? I would compare what the Rabbi Shor speaks of, the selling of the animals and the feed, to people who own Hametz and keep selling it on Pesach. They do some kind of a contract and they do it. So they try to symbolically say we don't own it and they still own it. But okay, we all follow our minhagim. Whatever I said, just a disclaimer. Whatever I say is not la halakha. Each one to follow our minhag and the local rabbi, and with that we conclude today.
They have
Yeah.
the same problem.
Now we are off the record. You can
So
say
what
whatever you
happened
want.
with animals?
That's the stupidest thing.